Country Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Hey everybody, welcome to Jackie's Groove. This is Jackie Bertoni, brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. You guys, I'm proud and privileged today, man. I've got in my studio a longtime friend. We go back all the way to the early 90s. It shows how old we are. But it's a good thing, man. But this is the first time I actually had a chance to sit down with him, not on a break and not in the studio or not on the road. We're going to sit down and we're going to relax right now. We're going to talk about everything about Michael O'Neal that you wanted to know but were afraid to ask. So with that said, everybody, welcome with open arms and open ears to Jackie's Groove, my dear friend, keyboard impresario, Mr. Michael O'Neal. Michael, welcome to Jackie's Groove, brother.
Hey, nice to see you, Jackie. You know, keyboard, guitar, bass, whatever you guys want, I'll do it.
He's a man about town. Hey, Michael, I'm glad you got some time to sit there and talk to it, and let's educate the masses, and let's talk to your fans out there and our worldwide listening audience. You know, I just kind of want to start just a couple things like we always do itself. You know, Michael, where were you born? Where were you raised, and did you ever grow up?
Good questions. Perfect. I was born in Santa Monica, California.
You got it.
Was raised somewhat there, and then we moved to the San Fernando Valley, where I really did all my growing up from my teenage years, which was a good thing because it brought me closer into the center of the music business, Studio City and whatnot.
Right.
And my background is Mexican Irish, and on my Mexican side, my godfather happens to be was a famous Mexican musician who was one of the three founders of the original Mexican trio. They call it Trio Folklorico, which is when you see the guys, the three guitarists with the sombreros and the serapes, that format is called Trio Folklorico. And my godfather was in the founding group, the original group called Trio Calaveras, after which many other famous groups sort of followed the mold, Trio Los Panchos, Los Diamantes, a bunch of others. So they would come every year to Los Angeles to play at the $1 Million Theater downtown. And we'd have these big extended family parties. So I was soaking music up like at a very young age. I was very impressed by all of it. So that was kind of my beginning.
You know, and Michael, you're the second Irish Mexican I know, and I'll say that my dear friend of mine, the lead vocalist from the big group called Big Mountain, Joaquin McQuinney, or better known as Kino, Baby I Love Your Way, and so on. He is he's Mexican Irish also, so it's the second one. So I can actually put this down in my bio now that I know two of you boys from across the border. That's a good thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing now, right?
Absolutely, man. Whatever it takes, man. And it's all about how we grew up and so on and so forth. We were all young at one time, and I just want to make the listeners out there privy to the fact that the song that we opened up the show with was none other than Michael's daughter. Michael, you want to talk about that tune and your girl?
Sure. Her name is her artist name is Sadie Rose, which are her first names. She's Sadie Rose O'Neal, and she's like a 26-year-old indie singer-songwriter. She plays acoustic guitar and she's a storyteller. I always, when I see her lyrics and hear them, I'm going, God, where did you get this? You sound like you're 1,000 years old or something.
I love it.
She's an old soul, I think. And so nonetheless, I've been working with Sadie for, some time now. I produced a initial CD on her, which is called Child Be Brave, which is out there on iTunes and all CD Baby, all the like. And we're working on a follow-up project now. But in the meantime, I brought her into some of the film projects that I've been working on. I've kind of ended up doing both the underscoring on films as well as the end credit songs and maybe the beginning song in it too. And Sadie has done three or four of them with me to date. And this one was for a upcoming feature film by the name of Shell Beach, which, her and I are involved in the team from the ground floor up on this thing. We have another song in the film as well. So, I'm proud of her. She's become a studio professional. Yeah, and we work well together. After we got over the first hump of her, me suggesting things in the studio and her going, Dad. After she got past that and tried the ideas out, I told her, hey, you don't have to keep the ideas, but just try them.
Exactly.
And I think she started. Yes. But she's doing quite well.
You just mentioned her age. She's probably pissed off at you, but 26 years old. She has been, in the industry with you well before. I mean, you had years before, she even came into this world and was blessed to bring into the O'Neill family. But with that said, as your daughter was growing up and she was around Daddy and Daddy had, all the major gigs, he was working with the who's who of the industry. Did Sadie get what Daddy was doing at that younger age?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked that because the answer is absolutely. But in this sense, because what I saw in her when she started to, make her own music was she realized by coming and observing the way me and my friends did music that you don't just sit there and play and sing. You take a warrior mentality.
Absolutely.
Okay, you go for it. You really go in strong, and she got that. I was, she has her own thing, like all these millennials do, but that part she got from hanging out, and that was a good gift for her, I think.
Well, and that's a good question on that side, or the good answer, because, we're getting ready to gear up and interview Ann Wilson from Heart. And anytime I interview a woman that's in the industry itself, especially, your daughter being younger, we talked a little while ago about Liliana Reyes, who is with George Benson, yes, which we'll talk deeper about that. These girls are at a disadvantage. Unfortunately, we're still in a male-dominated world. But when you look at groups like Heart, that came into the late 70s, into a male-dominated rock and roll situation. I mean, they came in, they beat the living hell out of these guys with the velvet fist. And the fact is, and the situation is still the same way. Girls have to go that extra distance to make it. And that's what we're all about here at Jackie's Groove, is to try to promote. And even though this is not your daughter's episode, but can you tell the listeners out there, is it available for purchase?
It absolutely. Well, this song that you opened up the show with is not yet. It's called Glow, and it is pretty much the sort of like a big scene towards the end of the film, the summation of the film that goes along with it. And it will be available in the future when it will precede the film, as the film director is going to do a standalone video on the song prior to the release of the film. So
you'll keep us abreast of what's going on, and we can help promote that if at all possible.
Absolutely. I'll keep you abreast and a wing.
And Michael, excuse me for jumping in there. I'm hearing a little bit of a delay, so I'll learn to play the game here. The little gremlins are about. So hopefully we're sounding clear in the studio, but we'll find out because Paul or Tino will yell at me one way or the other. So, going on to the situation here with your baby, are there any of the children in the O'Neill family that have the musical talent, or is she the only child?
Well, no, her older brother, who's 5 years older, he's 31 now. Joseph is a really good electronic musician. He does a lot of programming, and kind of EDM type stuff.
Right.
But he has become a very techie guy. He happens to be the production manager at the Avalon Theater, which is right directly across the street from Capitol Records. And it's a big DJ room as well as event room. And he has his whole crew. He directs an entire crew, and he knows all facets of the business there. And this is a great story. You're going to love this one.
Sure.
One of his friends years ago, when he was 14, he took up the drums, or I think 13, and he brought his buddies over to do their first little, practice in our garage. And there was this little guitar player, like 13 years old, but he had something. I was going, man, there's something different about that kid. That kid's amazing. Really. Well, you know who this kid is?
Sure.
It's a guy by the name of Skrillex.
Oh, Mr. Million Dollar Mixer. The guy's up on the top there, like along with the vein of Steve Aoki.
That's
all of the big heavy duty guys itself. I'm not a big fan of EDM myself personally. Maybe it's because I'm just too old for it. Only that raver music and so on. But the thing is, if they're getting it, because people don't realize the fact that Skrillex is actually a musician. He's not just a guy on the ones and twos.
You're right. Well, that's the thing. And his real name is Sonny Moore.
Right.
Sonny was into music first. He was the lead singer of a group called From First to Last. And then he went on and did a short stint. He did a record on himself just called Sonny, which was music. And my son was in his band. They did, cool. 3 or 4 tours around the U.S. and Canada. So he's musical. He's very musical. So for somebody that's in that field, he's very creative and musical along with the electronic elements.
Michael, and we're talking about your babies here, but can we step back for a quick second itself? How old was Michael when you first picked up your first instrument? Was it bass? Was it keyboards? Was it guitar? Share with us.
Well, I actually picked up the bass as a young teenager and just, messed around with that for a little while. And kind of when I became, a mid to late teenager, I kind of started out with the guitar because at that point in America, the songs that we grew up with in the, say the later 60s and whatnot, mid 60s, the later 60s and 70s were all the songwriting was at an amazing level. And there was, there were signature licks inside these songs that, and it was really a big deal to be somebody that could play guitar in America, to know the licks, to be able to play Satisfaction by the Stones, those kind of things. So it was very attractive, instrument to learn. Plus, the girls that hung out didn't hurt matters either. Of course.
And Michael, let's educate the people out there too that aren't musicians. And with the term licks, the word licks, my way of it is the ability, a style, if you will, the groove. How do you want to introduce the word licks to the non-musicians out there?
Well, the way I was just referring to it in that scenario I was talking about would be like the defining figures that make a song, like that would make like Satisfaction, dun dun da 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 da, right?
Right.
So that's a signature lick, if you will. Motif, idea, whatever it is. And it sets the whole tone of what the composition is going to be.
And Michael, in the O'Neill family growing up, what was playing through the console, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, the big TV thing with the 33 record player on top of that and so on. What was playing through those speakers back then? What did mom and dad raise you with?
I love it, man. The console. Perfect, Jackie. Well, I mean, I think my love of songs started early, because I'll tell you, there's one record that spoke to me every night. My dad was in love with this thing, and the lyrics painted such pictures. It was a country artist by the name of Marty Robbins.
Absolutely.
And and he had these songs that were out in the West Texas town of El Paso. I fell in love with a Mexican girl, just these stories that, like, even as a kid, I mean, I would, paint pictures in my mind's eye listening to these things. So
did you understand that at that age? Did you understand his picture he was drawing, his picture he was singing about at your young age? Did you get what he was talking about?
I'm sure not on an adult level, but enough to create my own motion picture within my mind. Like a Western, like I was creating my own Western behind the lyric.
I mean, that's a great drawing right there to give that situation because, Michael, think about it, and we're going to talk more about your career and the unknown names that you've been blessed to play with. And I say that with tongue in cheek, of course. And, but all the people that, that you influenced over the years in this last minute, I don't even know if I even want to ask this question in the last minute, but I'm going to try anyways. We can pick it up on the next segment. Who influenced you, other than Marty Robbins, who influenced you in your formative years of music?
Oh boy, that's such a good question. But the blues masters, I was exposed to B.B. King, Albert King, and Freddie King, and I spent a few years getting that foundation, which was a great one in terms of connecting one's gut and one's feeling to the music, so that there was power behind the notes and words you sang. It's the feeling that connects to it that reaches people. So that lesson came with the blues. On to the rock stuff. Jimi Hendrix for me is still the greatest rock musician ever. And then on into getting exposed to the jazz. Wes Montgomery I heard first, and then the guy I ended up working with, and I was still working with for over 30 years, George Benson, huge influence, as well as I think the modern day Gershwin in terms of songs would have to be Stevie Wonder.
Oh, without question. And another gentleman that that you have worked with, we'll talk about that too coming up. And that's funny because when you mentioned that situation of being into the blues situation, me knowing your music, I don't, and I say this as an absolute compliment. Your music is too pretty to be the blues, and and I'm not saying that blues is not in that situation, but we're going to pick that up on the second segment, Mr. O'Neill, because we're coming out right now in the last 10 seconds. So with that said, kids, don't go anywhere. Use the restroom if you have to and get yourself a drink. We'll be back on the next segment. Segment number 2 of Jackie's Groove. This is Jackie Bertoni, and this is the Intertalk Radio Network with my in-studio guest, the impresario, the keyboard player, the man that plays bass and raises children to play like he does, Mr. Michael O'Neill. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to the short break. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
She'll have you standing in line to get them pork chops smothered. In Jackson Square, they still there. A hot brass band blowing magic air. Bass drum bumping, snare drum popping.
I want to find more out about that song when we come back. Hey, everybody, this is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the InterTalk Radio Network. I don't know what that beautiful sound was in the background, but it was probably just one of the other gremlins. Hey, guys, when I left on the last segment number 1, with my in-studio guest, Mr. Michael O'Neill, I refer to the fact of being a keyboardist extraordinaire. Well, let me just tell you something. Everything this man touches in the way of instruments, he owns it. But let's not forget the fact that first and foremost, he is a guitarist. And so I wanted to err as human. So there'll be plenty of errors on this show, but that's okay. We're human. So with that said, hey, Michael, are you there? Welcome back, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And by the way, I took it as a compliment, Jackie, because if you thought of me as a keyboardist with some of the music you've heard of mine, it's Absolutely. Like, wow, it's working. It's working for me.
Michael, that jam we just heard coming in, that was a storytelling song. You want to talk about us and educate us on that tune?
Well, yeah, that's a tune by a partner of mine and myself, Amin L. His name is, and we have a project out called Let It All Go. It's available on iTunes, CD Baby, and the like. And we wrote that tune. It's simply called Nolans, as in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. It came out of my love of New Orleans. I mean, I wish all Americans could visit that city. It's such a great, example of melting pot in America. And all the flavors and everything exist there. But my friend Amin has a great, great golden voice, both vocally and as a speaking voice. So we decided to do some spoken word and singing in this. And we crafted our lyrics to really tell a colorful story about the city of New Orleans. That's what it's about.
Very, very cool. And it's kind of almost on the cusp of Zydeco. Kind of has that kind of a vibe behind it. So that is definitely all about NOLA. And I'm loving the sound. I'm gonna find out more about that too when we get offline, because I kind of like that vibe itself. And
cool.
But Michael, let's talk. Let me brag about you if I can for a second. We talked earlier, and for those who know you and those who don't, you mentioned the fact of your longevity and your tenure with Mr. George Benson. Which is amazing because the two of you together is crazy. I mean, that just complementing one another itself. And then let's talk about it. We said earlier also Mr. Stevie Wonder, the quintessential when it comes to a man who is relevant, has stayed relevant, and will always be relevant. And same with George Benson. But we have a lot of listeners, Michael, that are absolutely enthralled and are just engrossed for the fact that I've got somebody in my studio that has the 6 degrees of separation with a woman by the name of Miss Barbra Streisand. Let's answer. Let's fill the void in the listeners out there who really want to know about Barbra, or as the family we call it, Barbra. And that whole vibe itself. I want to know because my best friend Michael lives for Barbra Streisand, and come the time, not to sound morbid, but the time it's when Barbra goes home, I don't know how Michael's going to be because again, from the early days of Funny Girl and to everything current, who the woman looks absolutely amazing, and her voice is better now than it's always been. And that's in my opinion. But let's talk to the guitar player that's been with Barbra for the last 2 years, I'm going to step off and I want you to talk about it.
Yeah, the last year. And yes, well, first I have to stop pinching myself. Okay.
No doubt.
Because, yes, it's Barbara Streisand and it's Barbara Friggin Streisand.
Exactly.
So that in itself is like, oh, my God. And having now, done 2 tours with her, I am more impressed with her than I was going in terms of the level of professional she is. Obviously, the voice, as you say, it's the top of the hill for a pure voice. It's so gorgeous. But, I mean, she's an Academy Award-winning film director for The Prince of Tides, okay?
Absolutely.
And I watched her at work doing that because the last concert I did with her, we were playing in Miami. We were filming for a Netflix special, which will be out later this year. And while we're doing the run through, she would singing a line and then like, giving instructions to the different camera directors around, like
blocking everything.
Yes, she was. She knows. She says, "Bring that thing in here. Bring it up closer to me. Bring it on this side of me." She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew the terminology, and it's just the other thing is that on an ongoing basis as we're on the tour, it's always a work in progress. I mean, we put on a great show, and then she had a really high level Broadway show director co-directing the show with her, and so they're making tweaks all the time.
Michael, how big of a band are you touring with?
Well, right now it's a 10-piece band and 3 background singers. She used to travel with the orchestra, and not on this rendition of it. We have an interesting, I would call it a pretty cool modern hybrid sound.
Now, are you picking up orchestras when you go to cities, or is the keyboard player handling all the loops?
Well, I was going to get into that. We have Randy Waldman is the musical director. He plays just piano, and we have 3 additional keyboardists.
Really?
So they spread around the woodwinds, the brass, and the strings, sort of give or take. But then we also have a single woodwind player, Brandon Fields, plays clarinet, flute, and saxes. And we have a concert master violinist who's playing the top lines on, real violin. So there's a realism that is brought to it by having those 2 instruments. Again, it doesn't replace an orchestra, but ultimately it's more flexible because if you're making changes and tweaks right on the spot as you go the day of the show at your sound check, it's much easier for the person that's the music librarian to, make the tweaks and print out new charts for that show that night.
And Michael, and as picky as Michael O'Neill is, and I mean that as a good situation, as precise and as concise you are in the studio, when you're hearing these string loops, when you're hearing, electronic sounds that should be coming from live players, does it make sense to you? Do you feel comfortable with that? I mean, are you doubting that sound, or does it sound like an orchestra up on stage into the audience?
As far as in Barbara's situation, it's very believable. I mean, I would put it this way. I wouldn't say that it has the sound exactly of duplicating an orchestra, but it has a really great hybrid sound. It's modern sounding. And it's a really good sound. And on the in the bigger picture, as far as those things working or not working, that's a mixed bag because it depends upon who the pilot is. With these samples, there's a way you have to, use them, and there's things not to do with them that will make it sound cheesy and not real. So you have to learn how they work and where they work and where they don't work.
Michael, let me ask you this question, and I'm going to be very, very PC, if you will, when I ask this question. But there's a lot of questions people want to know about Miss Streisand. And the reason why I say that, you and I, we're in the same circle. We know that we have a lot of our friends that work with the quote-unquote divas in the industry. We won't mention names or mention the players, but we know who they are. And so with that said, I mean, we're talking about Barbra Streisand. We're talking about a woman. I think Barbara's what now, 72? I could be wrong. Maybe
74.
74. Okay. Sounds better, looks better. I mean, she amazes me. But I have to ask the question because the listeners are asking me. So let me just transpose it back to you. With the word diva, which I hate that word diva, because the word diva to me is translated into the word bitch, you know, and we've all been around enough bitches out there. So with that said, somebody who is Barbra Streisand, who is an Academy Award winner, a Grammy Award winner, the woman's got more awards than we can possibly dream about. Can you share with us, without getting too personal, how is Miss Streisand? Does her crew let everybody in the band know that Miss Streisand is ready for you guys, or is she a road dog also?
That's interesting. You know, now she is somewhat insulated. We have three groups of traveling groups. We have the A group, the B group, and the C group. The A group is Barbara and her inside team of handlers. The B group is the band. The C group is the crew. So in that sense, there's separation in terms of the traveling logistics and sometimes the hotels as well.
Okay.
But my experience as far as when she shows up to work, I view Barbara as nothing but the highest level professional who demands the best out of herself and for all of those that she's hired to work with her. And I, for one, love that because I want to do the same thing.
Okay.
You know, so I have no problems with, you know, her being demanding of you know, this is not right. We have to fix this. Of course we do. We're putting on a show. And I've learned that, you know, it's this sort of, you know, taking care of all the details that has put her where she is at the top of the hill for this long.
And Michael, let me ask you this question also, because I know your style of playing. I've played with you. I mean, you kill me to this day. But, you know, and obviously Randy, you know, who is probably the one in charge of hiring Barbara's band. But my question to you is, you know, with you being upfront with George and being upfront with Stevie itself, do you feel that you are, again, I'll use your term, isolated on stage with Barbara? Does Barbara understand who she has in the way of a guitar player and the musicians? And let's talk about our friend Amy Keys also. Does she understand that you guys are the yo cats in the industry? Does she get that?
Yeah, I think she does. I think she realizes that, like, you know, everything is, she's got the great backing and support that she needs. I think she does understand it. You can tell with people on this kind of level, basically you might not hear a lot from them, but it's more what you don't hear, as in complaints. Okay.
Right.
When you get to this level, I mean, you know, if you're doing the job and they're digging it, you know, then you just keep doing it. That's kind of the way that is.
And I asked you the question about her being a diva or her being a road dog. I only asked that question because our mutual friend, J.R. Robinson, John, is, you know, has been with Barbara for years also, as of late, but John only had the highest accolades to talk about Barbara because he said he would give her such a rash of shit because they'd be on stage and they'd be camera blocking if it was a filmed situation. And she would walk out with a gown on and she would look at John and say, "So what do you think?" And he would look back at her and go, and he would snap his fingers and he goes, "The color doesn't go with your eyes." And, you know, and then she would flip him off, which I thought that was the coolest kind of a situation. So there, it proves to me that, you know, the girl puts her pant legs on one at a time and she is a home girl, for the lack of a better term. I mean, she's Barbra Streisand, and to this day, I live for Barbara's music. I mean, I grew up with it. It's, you know, I had a couple days ago, a friend of ours came in and I was playing on my studio at full volume, Don't Judge, but the main event. Probably one of my favorite songs from Barbara. Are you guys still doing that tune at all? Or is there a call for that tune?
We've not been doing that particular song. This show, this show that we're touring on, which is called the Music, the Magic and the Memories. Tour. What it is there's two parts. The first part is she does a song from each of, like, you know, a number of albums in her career, one song from each. And then, with all the video wall images and stories that she has in her teleprompter that she talks about her career, and then the second half is pretty much all the songs from the new recording, Encore, which is duets with the movie stars, So the great thing about this particular show is that if you knew nothing about Barbara going in, you would have a really pretty good understanding of what she's about when you left.
And that's a cool picture, a cool scenario you drew, because I got to ask you a question. Just for instance, I mean, people go to see Barbra Streisand because they're going to go see Barbra Streisand, and they're paying those big dollars to see that. And obviously, it's they're taking back history with that. But let's just say, for instance, there's up there, and people are expecting maybe Clowns to be played, or whatever the major hits that have followed her through her huge career. But if there's a want, if there's people in the audience requesting certain songs, does she stick with the script, or will she be open-minded and maybe play something out of the repertoire that it wasn't, that wasn't on the song list, or do you guys stick with the list?
Well, pretty much we stick with the list, but it's a good list because all you got to do is The Way We Were and People, and they're going to let you get out alive.
Perfect, because as well as I do. I mean, if I don't know what we'll talk about George and what his signature song is. I can only talk about groups that I work with, with Tower of Power. If they don't play "You're Still a Young Man," they get lynched on the way out. And we're going to talk about all the songs that you've been blessed to play with, of all the luminaries that you've been hired by and been put on their stage. So when we come back, Michael, I want you to just go ahead and put your thinking cap on, because I want to talk more about the likes and dislikes of performance. And in our older age as we are, and let's let the people walk in Michael O'Neill's feet for another hour and a half. Okay, so with that said, you guys don't go anywhere. I'm enthralled by this, and we're talking about Barbara. I mean, that's trust me, you don't have to be a gay man to love Barbra Streisand, but I'm sure it helps. So with that said, you guys, the last 15 seconds on segment number 2 on Jackie's Groove. Hey kids, this is Jackie Bertoni, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. The dude I'm talking to on the line is a longtime friend, Mr. Michael O'Neill, first and foremost, the quintessential guitar player, and he picks up the bass and keyboards with that. So we'll talk more about that when we come back from the short break. Segment number 2 out, coming 3 coming back in. So with that said, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
There's nothing more enticing and more inviting in the sound in my headphones of an amazing orchestra arrangement with the bleeding thick beat of a viola and a cello. And that was brought to you by my in-studio guest, Mr. Michael O'Neill. And my name is Jackie Bertoni. If I haven't said that 1,000 times over, this is Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. And Michael, before I go on, I just want to ask my listeners out there, our audience, to do us a favor, and better yet, do yourself a favor. When you can't listen to our live performances, you know, that's understandable. We have a life, but you can do yourselves a favor by going on to iTunes or Google Play and download our easy-to-use and easy-to-navigate application. There's 2 words, first one being Intertalk, second one being radio, and take Jackie's Groove and the plethora of our shows on the road with you when you can't listen to us live. But we are live right now. And with that said, Michael, welcome back, brother. And I got to ask you a question. You said this great line, and I have to tell you, I have to agree with you 1,000%. And that line was, when you're on stage with Barbara, yes, I'm going to come back to Barbara, you pinch yourself. You're pinching yourself because it's still an aha moment. And, you know, and I say this all the time, I don't care if I grew up with the music. When I find myself on stage with somebody I listened to for 25, 30 years, it blows me out of the water. I mean, these are the people that you turn the radio on. These are the people that can't walk down the streets. But then again, now you're in that situation. So let's let the audience know what it's like to be Michael. And what I mean by Michael, where was Michael O'Neill? What were you doing? Where were you at when you got that aha call to audition for Barbara?
Well, I was so fortunate because I was out at out on the road on a work day with an artist that's not so bad himself by the name of George Benson. So I was in the thick of unbelievable musical experience as it was, and my dear friend Randy Waldman called me and said, would you be interested in doing a tour with Barbra Streisand? And I said, what?
No. Yeah.
What?
No. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. You know, I was like, wait, it was kind of like a surreal moment. It's like, no, that doesn't happen. But it did.
Where were you? You said on the road.
We were out on the road. And matter of fact, I was in catering. You know, catering, how they like to feed us when we're out there, you know, having dinner and stuff. And he calls and, oh boy, I couldn't believe it. But the interesting thing is that I said, of course I'd be interested. He goes, well, we're not sure what's happening yet. So, you know, a few weeks went by and finally I get the call back and it's like, well, it's a done deal. It's happening. So now, you know, fast forward into like actually being on stage with her, you know, the whole like, pinching yourself thing. It's like you kind of got to pull it together because you actually have a job to do. So you can't overly indulge in that pinching moment. You got to experience it, you know, say your prayer and go, thank you for the blessings, and then get to work. You know, that's what it is.
Michael, you know, with your talents and, you know, how much I love your playing, and again, talking about being, you know, sheltered or encapsulated on stage, is there anything or any part of the performance that features Michael O'Neill?
Well, you know, I mean, there are some moments that the guitar has little features here and there. There's, you know, the guitar intro and sort of the first verse on Evergreen, one of the great
beautiful
Barbra Streisand songs. Yeah, Evergreen is an acoustic guitar feature, up in the front, and it's pretty nice. There is what's this? We do a medley called the Stony End medley, and I think it's "Woman in Love." Is maybe there's a guitar figure that sets that one off, and that's kind of a little small feature. There's moments in there, but to be honest with you, I enjoy being the little spoke in the large wheel of a big machine that just so is amazing. I love doing that.
And Michael, when I see the pictures that are on Facebook or on social media that you take or what Amy takes, all I see is the from your POV looking out into the audience and so on. Draw a picture for the audience right now that hasn't been on that or seen that tour. Where are you in relation to the stage? Are you stage right, stage left? Are you on a riser? Are you on the flatlands? Talk about it.
Yeah. Well, as looking towards the audience, Barbara has this whole big long run from left to right, which is like the downstage area that is hers, and then there are two big riser sections, left and right. I'm on the one on the right where most of the rhythm section is myself, the bass, two of the keyboardists, and the drummer. Randy is just below us on the main level with Barbara, and then across we have the rest of the band, the woodwind, third keyboard player, percussionist, and 3 vocalists.
Who's on percussion? Who's on percussion? Who's on percussion on this tour?
We have a very much an orchestral percussionist by the name of Norm Freeman, who's from New York, and he plays those big timpani, and a lot of the orchestral kind of all of that kind of stuff, right? Vibes and whatnot. So he does a great job. So we need those big dramatic timpani rolls to set up certain power moments. Yeah.
And so with that said, I'm going to be real naive to the audience right now because I know what the answer is, but this is a charted gig. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Of course it is. Yes.
Okay. So you can't walk in there with the laurels of being a great player. If you're not reading or sight reading, forget about it. That's what happens when it's put together on such a tight format.
That's right. Yeah. You have to have your reading together for that. Now, like most gigs for reading, particularly from the rhythm section instruments, you're going to have like certain key lines that are written out that are so important that you must play those. But then you're going to have like chord symbols where you're expected to, outline it in a way that you do get to bring your feeling and coloration into it. So there's always some kind of space.
And that's a great thing because I want to ask you, as I'm writing a note down here, I know, what things when I'm hearing, in the studio when you're hired to be a sideman and when you're hearing things that just really don't make sense to Michael O'Neill or Jackie Bertoni. Sometimes if you're in a comfortable situation, you have the ability to tell the producer, you know what, I'm hearing it this way. And if they're a coddling producer, they'll usually go with it because not everybody knows everything. If you're hearing something different, you think it's going to benefit the song, then why not open your mouth about it? So with that said, let me ask you this question. If you're on stage with Miss Streisand and with Randy and so on, if you're hearing something, let's say during sound check, let's say during whatever it may be, let's say during rehearsal, if you're hearing something that you think is lacking or maybe something, and let's stick with your instrument, let's stick with guitar. If you have an idea, are you allowed, and I hate to use that term, or are you privy or do you have the right to make a suggestion that maybe it's just not right, or does Michael O'Neill keep his mouth shut?
Well, it depends upon the moment and the situation. The answer is there is some freedom for that at the right time and place. 9 times out of 10 at this point in my career, I kind of know my own playing well enough and know the lane that I drive in well enough to kind of pretty much make an executive decision as I go. I usually don't even need to talk about it. I just because it's a product of producing and composing myself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always editing. I'm always editing the music, the parts, whether it's my own parts or other parts when I'm composing. So, you know, I want to get. I'm always after the golden nuggets.
Absolutely.
In music. You know, so I tend to go ahead.
No, because I asked that question because I know how intense you are. I've recorded with you. I know what you're looking for. Obviously, you've hired me because you know I'm going to give you the sound that you're looking for, as well as the other musicians or yourself. But with that said, you know, I can only imagine, and not being a control freak, but knowing the underlying sounds that may or may not be there. I want to know, the listening audience wants to know if you do have that ability to make it edit or if you're shut down. You know, and I think you've answered it fairly. The fact is, you know, it's when it's allowable and when it's right, then you use it. And when you don't, you just sit back and you go for the ride, you know, and going for that ride, Michael, you know, on stage, are you guys using, and again, this is the old school of me asking, are you wedged or are you guys all in air?
Well, I'll go you even one further. We're all in ear and we have our own personal mixers.
Really?
Yes. So we can create our own mix, like right on stage, and it's incredible. It's really a great situation for that. It works out really well. So yeah, I like that. But I want to go back to one thing you said though. Like
please,
when I hired you to play on Richard Aguilar's The Impossible Dream,
mm-hmm.
you gave me what I needed, but then you gave me some stuff I didn't even imagine. You know, there were some colors that you brought into the picture that created some serious magic on that track.
I thank you, brother. I mean, you killed that track, and Richard killed that track. In fact, we're going to bring Richard on. Surprise, surprise, because he's a protege. This kid is, I say kid, he is younger. Anybody that's younger than you and I, we call him kids. He was just here at the house a couple weeks ago and love him like a brother. Put a couple extra pounds on because he brought me donuts, but we had a great time. We'll talk more about that. If your ears were ringing, we were talking about you deeply. But jumping back onto the stage right now, so I love the idea that you have the ability for your own mix. But let me ask you this question, because this is coming from a musician. This is coming from a guy that's a road dog. And I want to make sure the audience knows the difference itself, because when you're up there, I know what I do or don't want in my phones, in my mix, my in-ears, or my wedge. Is there anything that Michael O'Neill does not want to hear in his mix?
Absolutely not. I mean, I really want to hear a mix that sounds like a record. That's what I shoot for. I like to hear everything well, and I don't want to hear so much of myself that it's all about me. I want to hear myself maybe a little bit above where it would be in the mix so that I can articulate properly.
Right.
But I really want to hear the full group. I mean, that's the music. That's the inspiration. That's where, you know, I draw all the love and the feeling from. That's, of course, unless there's, any situation where somebody's not up to snuff, or then I might have them, get turned down.
There you go.
Which does not happen often. But in case that were to happen, that's what you got to do sometimes. But, for the most part, I just like to hear a mix as if I was in the studio doing a recording session for a record, you know?
Yeah, and I asked that question because there's times like, depending on the groups that I'm working in, my diversity is from reggae to funk to jazz to fusion to smooth jazz, whatever it may be. If I'm on a bigger stage, I want to hear my colors, because we're talking about being around a big band, especially if you're around a horn band. The congas, the timbales, the bongos, that stuff I can hear. But every once in a while, I like to have a higher mix when I'm playing finger cymbals through, a condenser microphone. I want to make sure that if I'm hearing it, the audience is hearing it, especially adding that extra color that when you have the ability to turn the audience into the RCA dog with that tilted head, like, what am I hearing? And so I always want to make sure I've got that mix in there. And, and listening to Barbara's music, that has been a dream, my friend. I mean, my God, to sit there and have my colors, my finger cymbals, my wind chimes, my bird sounds, and so on behind that voice, again, too, if that was the last gig I did, I would be happy with that. So I understand what it means. Yeah, I understand what you mean by the, pinching the situation up there. It's amazing. Is there a favorite song during that repertoire of this tour that you really puts a smile on your face that you really can't wait to play, or is it every song?
There's been it is pretty much every song, but there's an arrangement that we've been doing of this "Papa, Can You Hear Me?"
Oh God!
And it's so dramatic and amazing that it's an incredible moment. I have to say, it's just like it's climbing to the top of the mountain. You know, I want to go back to one thing you were talking about as far as the sound how you're hearing in your monitors, Jackie. Because what I was thinking was that, you know, that's another thing. Like when you start working with a group of musicians, and it takes time for those musicians to really get tight. You know, I mean, time brings it all together and turns it into a well-oiled machine. Well, that also goes for those musicians working with both the monitor engineer and the house engineers. If you have relationships with those engineers, they'll feed back to you certain things. I've learned a lot about how to, you know, adjust my levels and how to work my stuff by talking to the house engineers that are the guys that have to mix it, you know. So, you know, if you keep an open mind out there and you listen to other people, you can really be learning all the time about this stuff.
And thank you for bringing that up, because I was on tour with the big reggae group Third World. Now that we found love, Trudge, I love 96 Degrees in the Shade, and so on. So I had a sub, Nick Dolce, subbed on this tour, and he had walked up to me, and we were playing at a great venue called Humphreys in San Diego, and he asked me as this red light is flashing, he said to me, I noticed a lot that you go up and you shake hands with the monitor guy on stage and also the house guy. Why is that? And I looked at him and I said, I'll tell you why. Because number one, percussion, we're the quintessential divas on stage because we always want to make sure we're in that right mix. Second part of the equation is I don't care how much of a motherfucker you are on stage. If the audience can't hear you, they can't hear you. So there's nothing wrong with going over there and befriending somebody. And not so much kissing ass. Well, maybe it is. But you want to be heard. So with that said, I want to make sure that everybody's going to hear more about Michael O'Neill on the fourth segment. Can you believe it, Michael? We're done with 1 hour. It blew by.
Wow.
And so we're going to step out of segment number 3, walking into the segment number 4, second hour, with an amazing in-depth interview with my dear friend, master guitarist, and an all-around great guy, Mr. Michael O'Neill. So when we come back, let's pick it up. Let's let people walk in your shoes a little bit more. Let's talk about preparation and how things were when we were younger, now that we're older. So with that said, guys, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network. Stay tuned. Coming up on number 4. Don't go anywhere.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Enter Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Now, if that song doesn't make you think that you're driving down Pacific Coast Highway with the window down and the air ripping through your hair, man, then you're not outside. So with that said, guys, that sound, that music is brought to you by my in-studio guest, the amazing man, Mr. Michael O'Neill. Michael, welcome back to Jackie's Groove. Hey, Michael, before we get going, let me say hi to my sponsors, because if it wasn't for them, you and I wouldn't be talking right now. So with that said, I want to say hi to all the crew. That's Calvin Lee and all the boys and girls over at Pitbull Audio. And we're at pitbullaudio.com, where they just want you to play it loud. And also somebody that I'm very familiar with, and I guarantee you Michael's familiar with, Studio Instrument Rentals, better known in the industry as SIR. You can reach them at SIR-USA.com for all of your backline and rehearsal studio needs. Thank you, guys. And to my newest sponsor, Blue Microphones, who helps my voice sound pretty, and or the lack thereof. And that's Blue Mic, BLUEMIC.com. And then also to our dear friends over at Drum Workshop, DW Drums, one of the quintessential drum companies, who now owns my company that I'm most biased to. 27 years I've been with Latin Percussion. You can reach them at lpmusic.com, and also my dear friends at Sabian Cymbals, and also at Vader Percussion, who handles my drumsticks, again, for the past 22 years at Vader, VATER.com. So with that said, guys, we're back, and we're talking to Mr. Michael O'Neill. Michael, that last tune, I'm going to tell something, Michael. You know what? You got we have a personal friend, my dearest friend, who is a big fan of yours. And that person I'm talking to is head of music for Saban Entertainment, and who writes all the music for the Power Rangers and anime, and the list goes down the line. His name is Juan Carlos Quintero, man. He was over here a couple weeks ago, actually the day after Richard and Florentino left, and we had a whole weekend full of people. And we talked about you. I played Richard's new music, and he says, oh, man, he goes, there's nothing like the vinyl, strike that, the nylon strings of Michael O'Neill. So from one great guitarist to another one, you have a fan there. So I had to tell Juan I was going to talk to you about that.
I love it. Please give him my love. Juan, I've known Juan, we haven't seen each other in a lot of years, right. But our paths crossed many times over the years, and he's a good guy, really good guy, talented guy. That's great.
And perfect. And speaking of the guitar, let's talk about that song we came in on the break from. What is that? What's the genesis of that tune, please?
Well, that song I wrote and I submitted actually for one of George Benson's albums that he did for Concord Records, and they were actually and it was being considered for the Guitar Man record, and it was actually on the list. They were going to cut it. They ran out of time. But George and the executive producer, John Burke at Concord, loved the tune. So, like anything, I never, when you do good work, it's never done in vain. So I took that song, and it became the title track to one of my CDs. And this is, a little fun play on words called The String and I, as opposed to The King and I, you see.
Absolutely.
So, Yeah, and actually, you'll get a kick out of this, being a percussionist you are, is that the groove underneath it was actually inspired by a groove on a album by D'Angelo, which was produced by Questlove, and the song is called Spanish Joint. The groove, for me, it kind of sums up where I sit a lot. Is like a combination. It's got funky, the black side, but it also has like a little bit of a Latin element to it. So it's like funky Latin. And one of my other albums is called Funky Fiesta. So that's kind of my wheelhouse when it comes to groovy jazz type stuff.
Yeah, and when you mentioned Questlove, Questlove is that crazy drummer that is on Fallon, of course, the man with the afro hair and the afro comb, and someone I've been trying to get on the show for a while, and we're going to get closer on that, but I don't want to do any kind of a spoiler alert. I'm a big fan of Questlove. So, again, we run in, and trust me, as a radio guy now, I am pulling in every favor that I can in the industry. And, within reason, of course, and we're blowing ourselves out of the water. But the thing is, we're going to handle the task at hand right now because, we walked in the shoes of Barbara, but I'm not going to let you go that quick because I have to ask you a question, Michael. Allow the audience, the listeners out there, to kind of walk in your shoes, and we can paraphrase this, but let's talk about being on the road with Barbara. And you guys are not doing, you're not doing the Blue Note. You guys are doing arenas. And so when the day starts, you get the what they call the lobby call for the listeners out there. So the van is going to pick up Michael and the B crew, as he said earlier, and you're on your way to a venue. What usually is are you guys coming in that day, or they give you a day to come in and kind of get acclimated to the area before they pick you up in the morning? So when they pick you up in the van or whatever mode of transportation, take us through the day, if you will, how it goes with the Barbra Streisand, food-wise, et cetera, et cetera. Paint the picture for us.
Well, with Barbara's World, all of the logistics are like 5-star. Everything is incredible. First of all, starting with a lot of the flights are chartered flights. So you're showing up, you got a chartered plane, you're not going through any of the airport security, you're on a whole other part of the airstrip. The ride comes up there, lets you out, and you get on. You show up on the other end, and out you go. And normally, probably the most shows that Barbara would do in a week might be like 3. There's usually, at least 1, if not 2 days between shows. So, like last summer, for instance, we were in New York we played twice at the Barclays Center, which is in Brooklyn.
Right.
And we were there for, I think 3, 4 nights actually. I'm on the upper East Side, an amazing hotel for 4 nights, and my wife came out for 3 of those nights. So
I love it.
We got to go and hang out and enjoy the city, and in between the work. And but on a work day, maybe around 3 o'clock or something, the ride comes. Get you over to the arena, get in there, get acclimated. The sound check probably only goes anywhere from like 3 to maybe 5:30, maybe 6 if there's more work to get done. And then they have the catering room with all the food there, and oh my God, it's like going to like a high-end buffet, on tour with Barbara. Like everything's covered, anything you want, pretty much, and that's great. And then it's showtime. We suit up, and when I say suit up, I mean suit up. We're in black with white and a tie. We're orchestra looking kind of guys up there, and we get up there and we. The anticipation's amazing. Getting placed there, you see the crowd, kind of getting in their seats and stuff, and just the magnitude of the whole thing, the buzz in the air, the anticipation for her. And when the show finally starts and she emerges, my God, I've never heard something so loud in my life.
Well, and that's perfect. Let me jump in here real quick. So how much of an interlude is the band playing before Barbara comes on stage?
We have a short medley on the front end, which is maybe, a minute and a half, something like that. And at the end of it, with this big fanfare, is when she is revealed, the curtain opens, and out she comes down the middle of this whole staging. And everybody, everyone goes crazy.
Now the medley that's playing, is that medley just an instrumental medley, or is Barbara's voice piped in at all?
No, it's an instrumental medley arranged by Randy Waldman. That has, 3 or 4 of her recognizable songs, sort of arranged in a way where it's very dynamic and hard hitting. Where there's fanfare, a feeling of fanfare coming along with it. So, it works out really well.
And what are we talking about? A 90-minute set?
Well, I would say the first act is like an hour. We have a 20-minute intermission.
Perfect.
And then back for the second half, another hour or so. So it's, 2 hours and, 2 hours and a little bit, maybe something like that of actual music. Well, she talks a lot though too.
Well, I love her spiels, man. And I bring that up for a reason. We're talking about food, which I love because being the quintessential Italian, everything in our life is surrounded by the food, as we call it in our family. And with that said, I know my situation, and I was talking about that on break to you because, here we are a little bit long in the tooth, Michael, and I mean that as a compliment to both of us. We're still relevant, but I want to, there's things that I do now that I really couldn't do, 20, 25 years ago. So with that said, the difference between Michael touring 30 years ago with George Benson, which we're going to get more into that, and then currently right now with Barbara and George, is there anything that you do different now in our older age, if you will, or our veteran stage of our life that you do more now in the way of stretching, the way of practicing that you kind of took advantage of or took for granted at an earlier age?
Absolutely. Well, for one thing, I got to kind of watch the food thing a little bit. I mean, enjoy myself, but be moderated to some degree and eat healthy most of the time. Stretching is the first thing I do in the morning. Have to. The lower back needs to be put in the right place in the morning, and I do my cardiovascular stuff. I have a treadmill actually right next to my bed in the bedroom here, and then I go to the gyms all the time out and on tour and hit that treadmill. So that part, the physical thing, is good. Also, like little things like stepping off of a vehicle, off of a tour bus or something. I have to really watch my step now. It's not like just like a 20-year-old, you just spring out and dart out of there. No.
You're preaching to a choir, brother. You're preaching to the choir, man. I'm laughing here because I think that same thing. And I want to ask you this question too. We're talking about food wise because I know we all love to eat. We just talked about, to go through the Latin stuff, you got to be at least full belly of 3 burritos and some tacos. But with that said, I mean, I know personally, I don't like to eat too much. I like to get some substance in my system to kind of carry me through the hour and a half, 2 hour show. But there's one thing we do that is so bad on tour. It's called a to-go container. And there's nothing worse than doing a great show. And then now all of a sudden you come back and there's, the commissary's back there. The food is still fresh, but you want to get the hell out of there because everybody wants you out of the venue. So you load that to-go package up. And nothing worse about eating at 11 o'clock at night in the hotel room or on the bus. So with that said, are you a culprit of that itself, or do you know how to curtail it in our older age?
Well, it's I'm okay with it. I mean, like on the George Benson tours, when we go, like say to Europe, which I'll be going this July again. We are on the bus tours, really nice bus tour, which I really prefer too, because it beats not having to go through all the airport security and all the waking up earlier to get there and all that. It's but yes, they do. You do show up on that bus, and there's usually pizza and chicken wings up there at midnight, and it's like, wow, that's a tough one to have to navigate a little bit. But try to just I just try to remember that I'll be able to do it again the next day. So, I don't have to eat all of it that first night.
Yeah,
I can
keep telling yourself that. Exactly.
It'll happen again. Yeah, but here's the other thing that came to mind as far as like energy levels. The expanding energy level between the contrast between Barbara's gig and George's gig is really big, because with Barbara's, I'm just playing guitar. I'm sitting down reading. It's like, it's not like you're going to break really a big sweat or anything like that. With George, it's the opposite. I'm on the front line. I'm playing. I'm singing tons of vocals. It's a higher energy. The music is dance type music, a lot of it, and so it's a higher energy, and I'm really working up a sweat. So I feel like I've had an athletic workout at the end of a Benson show, but now, and that is one of the reasons why, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, I started setting my sort of a direction that I'm going to be, going in my future a lot, and that is doing composition for television and films. But that keeps me at home. That's what I do here, when I'm not on the road. I might be up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. with my cup of coffee and my screen buddy getting work done.
And so with that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put a close on Miss Streisand. If you guys don't feel like you know her already, then, you weren't listening. So listen to the archive on this, because it's amazing. I know I'm going to send this out to personal friends of ours that live for Barbara. And then I want to talk about it. It was a great segue for Michael to talk about this, because I want to talk about in this last minute and a half. I'm going to ask you a question, Michael. I mean, the thing that keeps us relevant is being loyal in this industry. A word you really don't hear is the word loyal. And so, with that said, I want to talk about the fact of your 30-year, tour and friendship with Mr. George Benson. I want to talk about that, how it was to announce to him that there would be some shows you may or may not be able to be on because you're going to take the Barbara gig. I want to know about how he was feeling about that. So if you share that with us when we come back on segment number 4, going into segment number 5 of a 2-hour interview, which I think is amazing, guys. I'm loving it. I know you are too, with Mr. Michael O'Neill. Hey, Michael, we'll be right back after this last segment itself. We got 23 seconds. So think about that situation. I want to know about how it was to sit there and tell George, hey, if in fact this is the case, I'm going to step away for this a little bit because I've got the Barbra Streisand gig. If that was the case. So I want to find out about that and how he took it and so on. I can only imagine from what I understand what a gentleman he is, but I want to know more about that. So we're going to step out for Barbra Streisand. We're going to step into Give Me the Night with Mr. George Benson and my in-studio guest, the lovely and talented Mr. Michael O'Neill. Hey guys, don't go anywhere. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio. We'll be right back on segment number 5. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back to segment number 5. Is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the infamous Intertalk Radio. Hey guys, I'm in a quandary right here, and I got to tell you, because I just came off the last break with Michael O'Neill, my in-studio guest, and I was going to talk about George Benson. Then all of a sudden, Paul throws this song on right now with our friend, and I'm going to jump back because Michael and I had one little bit of conversation. I was talking about the fact is what it was like to have to be forced or be in the situation where you told George Benson that you were going to step off his stage and step onto the stage of Barbara based upon loyalty. So how was that? Was that easy for you to say, Michael, or was that a trepidation you didn't want to deal with?
Well, it was like this. It was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. And,
really?
I just had to man straight up let him know. There's been other times I've had to send subs in the past as well. And, it's never a fun thing to do. And in this case, at first, he was like, oh, man, that's a drag. But it was not like, 15 minutes later, him telling me, like, because he's a funny guy and a gracious guy, and telling me, brother, that's good because you'll have some money for me to borrow.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Yeah. So no, he's the most supportive guy in the world. I mean, to me, he's been nothing but love to me. My big brother, and we have an understanding. We deal with things man to man, straight up, and he likes it that way, and so do I.
Michael, who was your sub on that gig? Go ahead and give a shout out.
In the past, I left the gig. I went from like 1981 up to 1990, and then from 90 to 94, Pat Kelly did the gig for 4 years. I returned in 94, and I've been doing it, and I'm still doing it. And in recent years, last year when I had to miss the 3, a younger guy by the name of Tony Polizzi, who's a fine young player and singer. That's one of the things that the chair requires is guitar playing and singing, background singing. So, but yeah, Tony Polizzi is the guy that has been subbing lately.
Okay, and Cats and Kitties, I want you to understand that we're going to go back to the George Benson thing because I have 1,000 questions, well, maybe a few of them for Michael. But Michael, I'm going to give you the honor right now, Michael. On that last tune that we just played, we brought in, and it's through. I want you to go ahead and introduce our mutual friend, the man that you've taken under your wing, and he's got to be pinching himself as you were with Barbara. So go ahead. I'm going to step away from the microphone, just taking my mouth away. Go ahead and introduce that gentleman that we just played on the top of the set, please.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome into Jackie's Groove my buddy and a great voice that you're going to be getting to know more and more in the near future, Mr. Richard Aguila. Hello, Richard.
Richard.
Thank you guys very much. Jackie, pleasure, honor to be on your show. Mr. O'Neill, Mr. Michael O'Neill, the extraordinaire. Pleasure, sir, pleasure.
Right on.
Let's talk about that tune. Let's talk about the tune, the fact that for this Filipino, my little boy and my little pancet lumpia lover in Las Vegas, who doesn't speak one lick of Spanish, and if he says he does, he's lying to you. And I know right now that while he was in the studio with Mr. O'Neill, Mr. O'Neill had a Latin whip to whip this guy into shape. How was it, Richard, to talk to all us that when you're under the direction of Mr. Michael O'Neill, well, I know the answer because we talked about it, but tell the listeners, and I mean that in a positive vibe, tell the listeners how frightening that was, to be in that room with him, but then on top of that, to have to learn how to speak Spanish, if not for a couple songs.
Well, one thing about Michael is he is very, very detailed and very methodical in his approach. And, and it just, as an artist, it just helps you develop yourself and be better. And so right. you basically Michael puts you in a situation where you have to get better. There is no choice.
No choice
about it. You've got to, it's trial by fire, and in the case of Tu Eres Toda, that's exactly what it was. I don't speak Spanish. I understand just a little bit of it, but it was important that every single word in that song be felt when you sang it, because it deserved that kind of, and that kind of performance. So I worked on it for about 5 months with him. And the result was really, I couldn't ask for anything better, really. And Michael is credit to that. So.
Richard and Michael, I have to ask this question because this is going to be really a loaded question. Richard, that beautiful vocal on that song, what take was that? Laugh, laugh, laugh.
Oh, wow. I'll let you answer that one, Michael.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, basically, I'm not a fan of like too many takes. I mean, I might take a few, maybe 2 or 3, but basically I like to make executive decisions as I go. So we'll go through it. I'll let them sing a verse, and then we go through that verse, and let's say, well, let's punch this line. I like the rest of it, because that way you get a flow. There's a natural thing that comes out of it, doing it that way. So, I mean, that wasn't too painstaking, because I must say that Richard really did do a lot of homework, and he's got a great vocal coach by the name of Lonnie Andal out in Las Vegas. He's got a good friend, Armando Jaramillo, who is a great photographer and, confidant, and another woman who was helping him with the pronunciation, and whatnot. And plus Richard did his homework in terms of researching, other singers, the Mark Anthonys, the Luis Miguels,
right.
the Vicente Fernandezes of the world, and really got a hold of of what is required to, put forth a love song, a bolero, which is a Latin ballad.
Standards.
And the great thing about, yes, exactly. And the great thing about this song too is that it was just sitting there in my files, incomplete. And I'd always wanted to finish the song. I just didn't, And when we were in the middle of, we had started the project. We did The Impossible Dream, which you played on wonderfully for us.
Thank you.
And the light bulb goes on, and I'm like, man, this would be a great one for Richard. So I went ahead and I finished writing it, got it all written and structured and whatnot, and sent him off my little funny guide vocal for him to work on. And so it was great. It's one of those situations where the song that I've been living with for quite a long time finally found the right voice for it. And,
Amen.
Yeah.
Hey, and Michael, I want to, and I want to not only mention and bring on the CEO of Intertalk Radio, and he's a so good bass player in his own right. There I go again. I stabbed you there again, and I know he's right in the background there. Florentino, are you on the mic right now, brother?
I'm taking back my bass tracks, man. You can't have them anymore.
I want you to. I'm going to step back for a second because I want to let the audience know out there that you are responsible for bringing Richard and Michael together. Go ahead and talk about how that happened.
Don't put that blame on me, man. Don't.
Absolutely.
I just these two characters, I knew that they would be a good fit. I knew that Michael would understand Richard's voice beyond anybody else. Right. And I used to produce Richard, and I knew better and beyond what I can do for Richard. Michael would have the understanding to bring out the best in him, and that's what why I wanted to introduce them. And then I knew that Richard can really express artistically and emotively the beauty that we get from Michael's tracks, whether it be a production of a remake or his own original. So I knew that was going to work out well, and so far so good. People are loving it. Richard's kind of let a few tracks out, from time to time to give people a little taste, but they're going to have to wait for the full album to get the onslaught of Michael and Richard's Green Bean production.
Yeah, and that's Richard's. That's Michael's label, Green Bean Productions. And I want to say something which is really, really cool because when I got brought in on this project on The Impossible Dream, and who doesn't know that song? And but when I brought into it, and of course with anybody out there that is a musician, when you have a song that's in its infantile state, I mean, Michael sent the track to me, Florentino did, and it had no drums on it, and and I'm trying to listen to what I want to play, or when in doubt, lay out. But then when they brought in a great guitar, drummer, my dear friend, Mr. Lan Richards, on drums, then all of a sudden, the first time in a long time that the drums made the song amazing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everybody in the spot right now, probably even more Paul. I love The Impossible Dream because the bottom line, The Impossible Dream is everything based upon Richard's story. I mean, his shallow but long story about how to get into this industry, and he's actually living the dream right now. And thanks to Mr. Michael O'Neill, he's helping with that. And so with that said, are we queued up at all for The Impossible Dream? And if we aren't, can we be, please?
Give me a minute. That's on the CD, right?
Yes.
Okay. I can.
He has the other one queued up.
I got Turn Your Love Around. I could throw in. But.
Well, I'm not talking about that, Paul.
You didn't say impossible, did you?
Yeah, very much so.
The song Impossible to Play.
Trust me, it's worth it. And let's stay from the beginning.
They gave me this weird plastic disc thing with like rainbows on it. I don't know what the hell this thing is. I've never seen one of these in my life.
This is why you say no to drugs. Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, I think
back when we were kids.
Exactly.
Well, he does have a bottle of wine sitting here in front of him. Domaine O Vineyards. What the heck is this?
It's the same bottle we have here at the house. Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, listen to this. Listen to the intro of this song. It is, it's deep and it's mesmerizing. And here we go right now. And that's Mr. Michael O'Neill on nylon guitar.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, and to try when your arms are too weary to reach the unreachable star. This is my
Now, my friends, that is how it's done. I mean, amazing, amazing all the way across the board. God bless you, Richard. You killed it, man. And Martin Navarro called and he said he wants his voice back, and that's an absolute compliment. So beautiful, gentlemen. You know, and Richard, you know, I want you to stick around with us because we've got more music coming up.
Yeah.
You did one of my favorite songs by my personal friend and a friend of the network. Gentleman's name is Mr. What's his name? Bill Champlin. The infamous Bill Champlin from the Sons of Champlin, and also his tenure with Chicago, and a song that he penned called Turn Your Love Around that was actually recorded by the aforementioned Mr. George Benson. But when you hear this track, I heard it for the first time 2 weeks ago and blew me out of the water. We kept playing it over and over and over again. Michael, I want to know, what was the motivation to switch this song up so differently and to bring such a contemporary vibe to it? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've been living with the song ever since I started playing with George. And it's been over, 35 years of playing this song. And there's just no way I could, just kind of try and do it in the same ballpark. So, and also we're trying to, in terms of like the flavor of this project for Richard, we're trying to keep the Hispanic part of it intact, as much as possible. And so, we it being like a pop R&B song, we kept the R&B and the funky part of it, aspects to it, but we brought in some Latin feel to it so that...
Michael, you went beyond that, brother. You went beyond that song. I mean, you definitely put your thumbprint on it itself. And you guys, can I ask you, Richard, to hang out with us for the next segment, Richard, our final segment, if you would hang out? Michael, can I ask you to hang out also? And Florentino, Florentino, you can go if you want to, my brother. I'm kidding you, of course. I love you, my brother. So when we come back, we're going to pick it up right now because I know. You guys don't go anywhere. This is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, better known as the Comedy Hour here on Intertalk Radio Network with my in-studio guest, Mr. Michael O'Neill and Mr. Richard, Mr. Suave Confilo, my boy, Richard. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick it up when we left off on this last segment out of 2 hours here on Jackie's Groove, Jackie Bertoni, Intertalk Radio Network with my in-studio guest and friends, Michael, Tino, and Richard, and Paul. Don't go anywhere, kids. We'll be right back on the final session.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every...
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Tell you, the diversity of music brought to you by Mr. Michael O'Neill is amazing, man. I mean, well, once again, every song that we played on this episode of Jackie's Groove, not one has sounded alike other than that sound of the nylon string. So, Michael, welcome back, everybody. This is Jackie Bertoni. I'm sick of hearing my own name, sir. Jackie's Groove and Intertalk Radio. Michael, who was the vocalist on that song? And let's talk about that for a quick second.
Well, that was my daughter, Sadie Rose, again, and that was one of the songs from her upcoming project that I'm producing now. One of the stories that she likes to tell. It's like, the old saying, "Look who's calling the kettle black."
Absolutely.
So that's that's her song, and that's one of the ones off of her thing. And it's a very eclectic project. And like I said, she's quite a young, nice talent, and she takes me in directions I don't necessarily go in on my own. And by the way, that's a point that I should make. That's Please. One of the great things of all the artists that I get to work with and the films I get to work for and the TV shows is all of them actually are a blessing and an opportunity for me to tap into areas that I didn't even know that I could really hang in. So I'll tell you, it's all a huge blessing for me.
And I love the fact that I didn't even realize that was her based upon the first song that we started out this show with. I mean, she's kind of almost like a kind of a Macy Gray kind of a vibe, but with more in tune. Very, very cool situation. And also, that was a compliment to Macy Gray, trust me. But Michael, I want to take a second here, Michael, before we bring back the group here. Man, personally, my friend, as you, my brother, my musical brother, I want to take a second here and say congratulations, man, on your award-winning soundtrack onto the Hollywood International Motion Picture Film Festival. And congratulations for 2016. Go ahead and share that with the audience real quick before we pick up everything else. And what was it like receiving that award?
Oh, man, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, that was, to date, I've scored about 12 films and have music on over 35 television series. And so, it was a marker along the way and a sort of like an incentive to, even though it's like a small film festival, albeit, it still beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. Absolutely. You see, it's something that just encourages me to continue on with it. And the director I work with is Pablo Moliné, a real talented guy. And matter of fact, he's the guy that the first song we started the entire interview on, Glow, which with Sadie and I did together. That's for his upcoming film, Shell Beach. Real talented guy. And, it's just it's a real honor to be able to, feel like I'm getting what these storytellers in the different mediums are trying to accomplish. I enjoy working with them all. And, every part of what I do musically helps the other parts, whether it's producing, Richard Aguila on vocals and on his songs or working on a film. They all can affect each other and enhance the entire story. It's all about stories. People want to be engaged and they want to be able to, it's the idea is to be able to cut through the noise and to penetrate into the human experience and touch people. When people are touched, you've done it. You've done what you need to do.
Hey, Michael, and if I can extend the olive branch itself to your daughter, Sadie Rose, when she gets near the completion of this project and we can actually bring it to the forefront, do you think she'd accept an invitation for maybe an hour interview with us and to promote?
What, you think she's crazy or something? She's in, baby. Come on.
Good girl. That's all I want to hear, man.
Come on now. Come on now.
And speaking of good girls, let's bring back Richard. That made no sense at all. We talked about.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart. We talked about George Benson.
He's
and
got jokes.
Turn
He's
your
got
love around.
jokes.
Go to your room. And but one of my favorite songs by George, "Turn Your Love Around," and also dear friends of mine in Las Vegas called Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns, headed by Jerry Lopez. They do an amazing version of it also. And what I want to play for you right now is a complete departure of how that song was recorded. Originally by George Benson, and of course brought out again and brought to light again by Santa Fe and Bill Champlin. But I want to introduce Michael's version of the song, and then when you get done listening to the song, I want to find out what made it go in that direction. So, Paulie, if you're ready, can we go ahead and bring up "Turn Your Love Around"? Bravo.
Hey, come on, come on. Take a listen. You've got the power, but you just don't understand. Girl, you've been charging by the hour for your love. Ooh, I've tried to show how much I love you. Still believing in romance. You're taking way too many chances with my love. I remember when you used to be the talk of the town, and all you get is lonely. Turn your love around, and don't you turn me down. And I can show you how to turn your love around.
All right, kids. Now that is the way it's done. I mean, you're talking about a vocalist, a Filipino, who doesn't speak a lick of Spanish. And you're talking about a Mexican-Irish producer, guitarist, keyboardist, who just messed that song up. And I mean that in a positive vein. Michael, what drug were you on when you came up with that idea?
I think it was a good one. Okay, so because well, backtrack to one of the other things. Again, the idea was we wanted to keep the, I like doing a whole project. You want to try and create some kind of a thread that binds all the pieces on the. Mm-hmm. I still think in terms of albums, even though it's that day that train has left the station, but I still think that way. And so. The Hispanic, the Latin elements were what we were looking for in this. And so that's where it came into, taking it in this direction. But then I happened to find, in so many of my crazy tools I have in my studio here, the a cappella group Take Six, the samples of their voices up on the front end of the song, just the idea of having that, like sort of a choral introduction featuring Take Six and with Richard layered over it, just seemed like it was a cool kind of a touch. And it kind of masked, you wouldn't know what song you were listening to yet. So So, it creates a situation where like, oh, wow, this sounds interesting and I really want to hear more. But when it comes in and it hits you, oh my God, that's this song.
Exactly.
I like that element of surprise.
And gentlemen, I want to thank both of you. I want to actually thank Florentino, Richard, and Michael for making me part of this project. I love it, man. I love it, and I hope you're going to bring me back in some other things too. How's that for begging for work?
That's happening. That's happening.
Guys, there's just so much out there because, again, I'm not going to blow smoke up Richard's rear end, but I'm going to do it anyways. But this is the vibe that we need a little bit different because I don't understand the music business or the lack thereof in America. Whereas if you have any Filipino/Asian descent, it's very, very hard for it's been proven, how many great Asian stars are out there right now and that have amazing voices. I think this is going to be something that's going to kick it over the curb. And because of the diversity of this song and this album, I should say. And Richard, let me ask you this question, and I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. Out of these 3 songs that are already inked and already recorded, is there a favorite out of the 3?
Definitely, for me, it's Tu Eres Todo. It is Tu Eres Todo because that's the one that really pushed the envelope for me. It's the one that challenged me the most. And got me out of my comfort zone, and it was the perfect bridge for me to do to Turn Your Love Around. It was a perfect bridge. So I think that one definitely is my ultimate favorite now.
Michael, same question to you, Michael.
Well, I have to agree with Richard there. I think it's our flagship. I really think it's our flagship. I think it's our ticket to the that aircraft that's going to be very exclusively going to the next planet. I think that's the one for that. But we have some other tricks up our sleeve. We're working on some things now. There's a song that I co-wrote with a gentleman named Stephen Bray and Randy Imada. Now, Stephen Bray is a producer and songwriter who dates back to the earliest success of Madonna's career. He was one of the producers there, and he just won his first Grammy for his songwriting in The Color Purple on Broadway. Beautiful. With him, Brenda Russell, and Allie Willis. So Stephen Bray is a hell of a songwriter, and I've written a few songs with him. And, again, the light bulb went on one day talking to him that one of our songs we had written called Spanish Heart would be perfect for a Richard project as well. And so we got the vocals done, and we're, I'm still working on that production now. But that's the 4th song to this volume right now. And so we're well on our way here, and then Richard has is also this other thing that is being cultivated is that this look. He's got this elegant designer geek look, right, Richard?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The horn rim glasses. It's a little bit retro, but it's like very elegant. I mean, and Armando Jaramillo, who's doing the photography and the layout for us, done a superb job. And Richard, the album covers look great. The personas are great, and it matches the music. That's the important thing there, in my mind.
I just think it's wonderful. I'm looking at the CD right now that Richard dropped on me a couple weeks ago, and thank you for that. My wife walks around the house and she's got this. She thinks she's listening to the new Luis Miguel right now, and who knows? It just comes.
I like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we can do that, man, and that's what it's all about is promotion. And, with promotion said, we've got, again, we could have got another 2 hours, Michael, but that's without a question. But I want to just do this. Florentino, are you there, my brother?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Can you go do what you do best and see if you can extract some information, how we can but how we can find out everything, Richard, please?
So I have a question for you, Jackie, before I do that.
Yes, sir.
Who's Baba Booey? Is it Paul or is it me? That's what I want to know.
Whoever fits most, it's.
We're going to need to do a quick Baba Booey contest, a duel. I'll go first. Baba Booey.
There you go. Baba Booey.
I'll be your Robin. How's that sound, Jackie?
You're more like a Robin.
Done.
Yeah. There you go.
And so we don't hold Richard up anymore. Go ahead and just tell everybody how they can get a hold of Richard. Then we're going to take matters in hand and how we can stalk Mr. Michael O'Neill.
Yeah. Richard, you've got a nice Facebook page that Intertalk gets to usurp every so often and promote on. Tell people how they can find you on Facebook.
All right. First of all, thank you everyone that is tuned in and will tune in for the show afterward on the archives. You can find us on Richard Aguila Music on Facebook, and it features all the information, all the background on how I got started. And of course, it features Mr. Michael O'Neill and the beginning of our adventures into this project that we're currently finishing up. So that's Richard Aguila.
Richard, spell your last name. Richard, spell your last name for the listeners. I'm sorry, Richard. Spell your last name for the listeners.
Absolutely, it's Aguila, no R. Richard Aguila Music on Facebook.
Perfect.
And you guys, I'm going to give a shout out for Michael and Richard. The song that Michael mentioned that they did with Stephen Bray. You get a chance to get a sneak peek on Richard's page. So if you get a chance to get on Facebook, go to that Richard Aguila Music page. There is a video that was shot live from Michael's studio, and it's pretty cool. It's got a lot of listens so far.
Hey guys, you know what? I don't know why it's flashing here, but okay, I don't know. The clocks are off here, so we got time still. So Richard, we love you, brother. Thank you for being part of the show, man. We'll talk offline, and you owe me more donuts.
Thank
okay?
you, Jackie. Absolutely, it's coming. Jackie, just a quick second. Just want to give a shout out and a thank you to you, especially my brother, to Mr. Michael O'Neill, to Mr. Florentino Benaventura, Paul. Love you guys, and thank you very much for all you do.
We love you too, brother.
Be good,
everybody.
Be good, Richard.
God bless you, brother. And so let's take advantage of this last minute and a half, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Talk about let's talk real quick here. I hate that flashing light. How do we get a hold of Michael O'Neill?
Well, first of all, my website is michaeloneillmusic.net. There's that. I have a Facebook fan page, which I've completely neglected, so I apologize for that, but it's been brought to my attention that I need to start to address it, which I will going forward. And you know what? I don't even know what the name of it is. You can find it at my regular Facebook page. It's connected to that.
Okay, guys, I'm going to cut you off there, Michael. We're going to lose you.
This is Jackie
Here we go.
From Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into